India's voice to the world.
Vielleicht nur als Impulsant.
Hello, welcome to your WION Live Broadcast from London. I'm Oliver Regan and these are the headlines. British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak to set out his priorities for 2023 in his first speech of the year. Amid an economic crisis in the UK, Sunak likely to show that he has what it takes to lead Britain into the next election. EU member states agree on a coordinated approach to the changing COVID-19 situation, with a big focus on targeted measures to monitor flights from China. Russia's defense ministry says 89 troops were killed in the Ukrainian attack on Makiivka in the Donetsk region. They blame use of mobile phones by servicemen as the main reason for the attack. Pakistan grapples with an energy crisis and terrorism. The government orders all malls and supermarkets to close by 8:30 p.m. to conserve energy. Meanwhile, 2 counter-terror officials killed in a terror attack in the Punjab province. Cristiano Ronaldo is unveiled as an Al Nassr player in Riyadh. The 5-time World Player of the Year claims his work in Europe is done, but insists his career at the top level isn't over yet. The UK has come out to say it will honour its commitment to lead the elite high readiness NATO Joint Task Force in 2024. This comes in response to Germany saying it was looking at extending its leadership beyond 2023 after Britain cited delays. The UK's Ministry of Defence termed Germany's suggestions of Britain's delay as completely untrue. It cited NATO reviewing military plans and force model of the task force. The Very High Readiness Joint Task Force was set up after Russia annexed Crimea and was deployed for collective EU defence after Russia raided Ukraine in February last year. France handed over command to Germany earlier this week and Britain's due to take over in 2024. A key condition for the leader is for its army to become operational in 48 to 72 hours. After the deadly weekend missile strikes on Makiivka in the Russian-occupied Donetsk region, Russian Defence Ministry has now blamed the illegal use of mobile phones by its soldiers for the deadly attack. It also said that 89 soldiers have been killed in the strike, raising the previously announced death toll. Russia earlier disclosed that a Ukrainian strike on a vocational college building in Makiivka, a city in the Russian-controlled Donetsk region of Ukraine, killed 63 soldiers on New Year's Eve. The building that was reportedly serving as a temporary barracks for mobilised Russian troops. The Kremlin says the strike was carried out by HIMARS rocket systems supplied to Ukraine by the United States. In a recent statement announcing the increase in the death toll, the Russian Defence Ministry has said that the main reason for the attack was the illegal mass use of mobile phones by Russian soldiers, as it allows Ukrainian soldiers to track them and determine their coordinates for the missile strike.
В настоящее время работает комиссия по расследованию обстоятельств происшествия. Но уже сейчас очевидно, что основной причиной произошедшего стало включение и массовое использование, вопреки запрету, личным составом мобильных телефонов в зоне досягаемости средств поражения противника. Данный фактор позволил противнику запеленговать и определить координаты расположения военнослужащих для нанесения ракетного удара. В настоящее время принимаются необходимые меры по исключению подобных трагических происшествий в будущем. По итогам расследования виновные должностные лица будут привлечены к ответственности.
The ministry reaction comes as anger mounts over one of the bloodiest incidents of Russia's nearly year-long invasion of Ukraine. This is the biggest casualty from a single strike reported by Moscow. The attack has triggered Russian nationalists who are angry and demand punishments for commanders they accuse of ignoring dangers. Russian President Vladimir Putin is yet to make any comments on the strike. Ukraine, meanwhile, has taken responsibility. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has pledged to strengthen the country's defences. There's been global criticism of Israeli far-right minister Itamar Ben-Gvir's visit to the Al-Aqsa compound in Jerusalem. The Western governments have warned that such moves threaten the fragile status quo at Jerusalem's holy sites. Israel's new far-right national security minister, Ben-Gvir, visited the compound on Tuesday. He was surrounded by security guards, while a drone hovered above the holy site. Al-Aqsa Mosque is the third holiest place in Islam and the most sacred site to Jews, who refer to the compound as the Temple Mount. Under the status quo, non-Muslims can visit the site at specific times, but they're not allowed to pray there. Hours after Ben-Gvir's visit, Israel's ally, the United States, said that it stands firm on preserving the status quo of Jerusalem's holy sites.
So this is the mosque that you're talking about by the National Security Advisor there. Look, so the United States stands firmly, and we've been very clear for preservation of the status quo with respect to the holy sites in Jerusalem. Any unilateral action that jeopardizes the status quo is unacceptable, and we will continue to be steadfast on that and be very clear on that.
We're deeply concerned by any unilateral actions that have the potential to exacerbate tensions, precisely because we want to see the opposite happen.
UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres called on all to refrain from steps that could escalate tensions in and around the holy sites. Germany urged everyone to avoid actions that could increase tensions. The UAE and Morocco, which established diplomatic ties with Israel in 2020, spoke out against Ben-Gvir's visit. In fact, Israeli media has reported that Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's planned visit to the UAE next week has now been postponed until next month. Though the Prime Minister's aides have denied any link to Ben-Gvir's move. These reports emerged shortly after the UAE condemned the Israeli minister's visit to the contested site. According to diplomats, the UAE and China have also asked the UN Security Council to meet over the issue. It's a visit that has caused rage amongst Palestinians. The Palestinian Prime Minister called Ben-Gvir's visit a storming of the Al-Aqsa Mosque and a violation of all norms, international laws and commitments to the American president.
إن اقتحام الوزير الإسرائيلي بن غفير للمسجد الأقصى المبارك صباح اليوم يشكل تحدي خطير لمشاعر جميع أبناء الشعب الفلسطيني.
هذا خطير لأنه صاحب فكرة السيطرة على الأقصى وصاحب فكرة تقسيم الزماني والمكاني.
Israeli security forces have reportedly confirmed that a rocket was launched towards Israel from Gaza last night, but it fell within the Gaza Strip. The visit has drawn fierce condemnation from across the Muslim world. The leader of Lebanon's powerful armed Hezbollah movement has said that any change in the status quo at the Al-Aqsa Mosque could lead to an explosion in the region.
إن التعرض للمسجد الأقصى وللمقدسات الإسلامية والمسيحية في فلسطين وفي بيت المقدس خصوصا من قبل هؤلاء الصهاينة لن يفجر الوضع داخل فلسطين فقط بل قد يفجر المنطقة بكاملها.
In an apparent effort to calm anger over the visit, an official in the Israeli Prime Minister's office has said that Benjamin Netanyahu is fully committed to the status quo that only allows Muslim worship at the site. Amid continuing reports of a surge in COVID cases in China, several European Union countries have come together to favour introducing pre-departure COVID testing for travellers from China. This comes as Beijing plans to lift travel restrictions on its citizens. The Commission prepared a draft proposal for the talks, which includes a recommendation for mask wearing on flights from China, wastewater monitoring from aircraft arriving from China, genomic surveillance at airports, and increased monitoring and increased EU vigilance on testing and vaccination. All EU countries agreed they needed a coordinated approach to the changing situation in China and to deal with implications of increased travel from China to Europe. However, last week, the European Centre for Disease Prevention and Control said it did not currently recommend measures on travellers from China. The death of Pope Benedict has cleared the way for Pope Francis to retire instead of serving for life if he chooses to do so. Pope Benedict became the first pontiff in 600 years to step down from duty in the year 2013. Pope Francis has long hinted that he may step down if his health prevents him from leading the church. Let's take a look at this report.
As mourners paid their respects to the late former Pope Benedict, who died on Saturday, questions surfaced about how long his successor, Pope Francis, would continue leading the Catholic Church. In 2013, Benedict became the first pontiff in 600 years to step down instead of reign for life. But if the current pope had even considered doing the same, he previously faced one major obstacle. Benedict remained in retirement in the Vatican, which would have made it virtually impossible, says Reuters Vatican analyst Philip Pulella.
It was already very complicated having two men wearing white in the Vatican. If Pope Francis had resigned while Benedict was still alive, we would have had two former popes and one reigning pope. It was already very difficult for many people, for many Catholics, to have such a situation where there were two people wearing white in the Vatican, a former pope and a reigning pope. The presence of Benedict in the Vatican did create some problems. Conservative Catholics saw him as a symbol of the kind of church that they wanted to return to, a more traditional church. Now that Benedict is no longer with us, Francis, as he gets older, will have no obstacle to resigning.
Not only has Benedict's death made decisions easier for Francis and the Church, it could prompt the current pontiff to review how future popes conclude their reigns, either in old age or in death. Francis is now 86, 1 year older than Benedict when he retired, but he shows no signs of slowing down, says Philip Pulella.
If anybody thinks that Francis is going to be retiring anytime soon, they're mistaken. The papacy of Francis is entering a new phase, perhaps the final phase, but we don't know how long that phase will last.
However, Francis has made it clear he would not hesitate to step down if his health impeded him from leading the 1.3 billion member Catholic Church.
Cristiano Ronaldo has been officially unveiled as an Al Nassr player in Riyadh. The five-time World Player of the Year claims his work in Europe is done and insists it's not the end of his career as a top-level footballer. Ronaldo has joined the Saudi Arabian club on a 2.5-year deal until 2025. He was a free agent after his contract at Manchester United was terminated, following a bombshell interview in which he lashed out at the club. The 37-year-old will reportedly earn around $214 million in his 2.5 years, which makes him the highest paid footballer in history. And Ronaldo claims that he wasn't short on offers.
As nobody know, but I can say now I had many opportunities in Europe, many clubs in Brazil, in Australia, US, even in Portugal, many clubs tried to sign me, but I give the word to this club for the opportunity.
Just a few months back, Ronaldo had expressed his desire to play in the UEFA Champions League, Europe's premier club competition, but he now believes that he's nothing to prove in European football.
Well, so far feeling very good. I'm so proud to make this big decision in my life in football. As you mentioned before, in Europe, my work it's done. I won everything. I played the most important clubs in Europe, and for me now it's a new challenge. As you mentioned, in Asia, I'm glad for that. Al Nassr gave me this opportunity to show and develop not only for the football, but also for the generation, the young generation, the women's generation as well.
Ronaldo did not take any questions from reporters at the press conference and only interacted with a club official. After the briefing, Ronaldo was greeted by thousands of fans at the club's home stadium, the Mosul Park. He could make his debut for Al Nassr as early as Thursday. Ronaldo has won everything there is to win in club football. He's won the Champions League 5 times and holds the record for the most goals and assists in the competition. The 37-year-old has proved his mettle in the top leagues of the world, winning 3 English Premier League titles and 2 league titles in Italy and Spain, respectively. Ronaldo was adjudged World Player of the Year 5 times and has the same number of Ballon d'Ors. A knife that can reliably detect womb cancer. Yes, you did hear that right. According to a report in The Guardian, researchers have found that a surgical knife that's already used to smell tumours can diagnose womb cancer within seconds. The report said the breakthrough could enable thousands of healthy women to get the all clear quicker. Womb cancer is the 4th most common cancer in women. The Guardian reported that the eye knife uses electrical currents to differentiate between cancerous and healthy tissue by analysing the smoke that's emitted when the biopsy tissue is vaporised after it's been removed from the womb. According to researchers, the knife's effectiveness was proved using biopsy tissue samples from 150 women with suspected womb cancer, and the results compared with current diagnosis methods. According to the Guardian report, the team plans to launch a major clinical trial which could lead to its use becoming widespread. The proverbial glass ceiling stands shattered again, this time at Siachen Glacier, the world's highest battlefield. In a big milestone for the Indian Army, Captain Shiva Chowdhuan of the Army's Fire and Fury Corps has become the first women officer to be operationally deployed at Siachen. Shiva Gauchan is to lead a team of combat engineers ahead of this landmark assignment. Shiva underwent rigorous training at the Siachen Battle School, where she trained alongside officers of the Indian Army. Captain Shiva Chowdhuan is from Rajasthan and a Bengal sapper. She did her schooling in Udaipur and holds a bachelor's degree in civil engineering from Udaipur. Indian Defence Minister Rajnath Singh conveyed his best wishes to the captain and said she was happy to see more women joining the armed forces. Telugu, Tamil and Kannada language films have been giving tough competition to the Hindi film industry. Indeed, 37% of Hindi box office revenues this year have been from Hindi versions of Southern films. Hombali Films, the film production company behind the KGF franchise, and Kantara is undeniably a name that has brought Kannada cinema to the global map. The production house announced on social media that they will be investing 3,000 crore rupees over the next 5 years for developing new content. It plans to make 10 to 12 films over the next 2 years. We've seen actors like Sanjay Dutt, Ravina Tandon playing major roles in KGF, and now with this announcement we won't be surprised if Bollywood A-listers make their way down south, because who doesn't want to be part of a pan-Indian film? There's also another film with Rishabh Shetty, and finally one more project with Prashant Neel that will go on floors after he completes Salar. The company has recorded about 25 times more business this year versus 2019 and expects the momentum to continue due to their upcoming projects. Guess it's time for Bollywood to pull up their socks. Well, that's all from your WION Live Broadcast from London. I've been Oliver Regan. Many thanks for joining us. See you at the same time tomorrow.
For the first time on WION, on the India Story, the show for the global citizen, we speak to Amitabh Kant, G20 Sherpa, on India's presidency of the premier international body. India's opportunity to take leadership in a time of global crisis, to unite a deeply divided world and solve crisis through dialogue, to showcase its rich heritage and culture to the world. Decode the heft behind India's G20 presidency with Vikram Chandra on WION World is One.
WION, now available on Spotify and Google Podcast.
You don't know how to fix the holes in our ozone layer. You don't know how to bring the salmon back up a dead stream. You don't know how to bring back an animal now extinct. And you can't bring back the forest that once grew where there is now a desert.
You have ignored us in the past and you will ignore us again. We have run out of excuses and we are running out of time.
Show us your faithfulness. Show us your trustworthiness. Show us your honesty. Prove us wrong. We desperately need you to prove us wrong. God help us all if you fail to prove us wrong. God help us.
Reading between the lines. Deep diving into the big story of the day. From political turmoil to economic crisis. From the brazen to the bizarre in the world of technology, sports and fashion. News from Earth to outer space. We bring you the harsh ground realities, as well as the finer things from this planet and beyond. Only on fine print at these times on WION.
This new year, join me on WION with 2 weekly shows that will keep you informed. This World, a show that wraps the world's biggest global stories and brings you up close with the biggest newsmakers. And a 30-minute show that aims to bring the India story to the world. we help you understand global developments from an Indian perspective. I'm Vikram Chandra, and this is WION, World is One, taking India's voice